My daughter-in-law took over my house, changed the locks, and thought I'd stay quiet. I was folding towels in the laundry room when I first noticed something was wrong. The house smelled like coffee and lavender fabric softener, the way it always did on Tuesday mornings. My son Mark had dropped off the kids an hour earlier. Emma was 6, Leo was 4. They were in the living room watching cartoons while I folded the towels into neat white squares. That was my routine. Tuesday was laundry day. Wednesday was grocery shopping. Thursday, I would make a big pot of soup, and Mark would come by after work to pick up a container. I had been doing that for 3 years, ever since Lisa went back to work full-time. They needed help with the kids. I was retired. I had the time. I had the house. I had the love. The house was mine. That is important. That is the first thing you need to understand. The house belonged to my mother before she died. Then it belonged to me. My husband Frank and I raised Mark and his sister Rachel in that house. 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a back porch that sagged a little on the left side, a crabapple tree in the front yard that bloomed white every April. When Frank left me for that woman from his golf league, I stayed in the house. When the divorce was final, I kept the house. When my mother passed 6 months later, I cried in every room of that house and I swore I would never leave. That was 15 years ago. I was 58 then. Now I am 73.
I have been a mother for 46 years. I have been a grandmother for 6. I have been alone for 15. But I was not lonely. I had my routines. I had my garden. I had my book club at the library every 3rd Tuesday. I had the kids twice a week. I had Mark. I had Rachel, even though she lived 3 states away and called me once a month on Sunday afternoons. I had my church. I had my health. I was fine. I was more than fine. I was content. Then Lisa started coming over more often. That was 2 years ago. Mark and Lisa had been married for 5 years at that point. They lived in a rental about 15 minutes away from me, a small duplex with thin walls and no yard for the kids. Lisa worked in medical billing. Mark worked at a hardware store. They were not struggling exactly, but they were not comfortable either. They talked about buying a house someday. They talked about saving for a down payment. They talked about how the rent kept going up. I listened. I nodded. I offered to help with the kids whenever they needed it. That was what I could give. My time, my hands, my house. Lisa started dropping by on weekday afternoons. She would say she needed a quiet place to work on her laptop because the duplex was too noisy. I would make her tea. She would sit at my kitchen table for 2 or 3 hours typing on her computer. Sometimes she would stay for dinner. Sometimes she would bring takeout. She is always polite. She always thanked me. She started calling me Mom a few months into this new routine. Not my name, Mom. At first, it felt strange. Then it felt warm. Then it felt like maybe this was how families were supposed to work. The daughter-in-law coming over just to sit with the mother-in-law, just to be close, just to be family. I was blind. I see that now. I was so hungry for the warmth that I did not notice the way her eyes moved around the house, the way she would pause in doorways and measure things, the way she would run her hand along the kitchen counter and say, "You know, this layout is really efficient." The way she would look at the back porch and say, "This would be perfect for a hot tub if someone ever wanted to renovate." I thought she was making conversation. She was making a map. Mark started staying later, too. He would pick the kids up from my house after his shift, and instead of leaving right away, he would sit down on my couch and stretch out his legs and say he was too tired to drive. I would make him a sandwich. He would fall asleep on the couch. Lisa would tuck a blanket around him and roll her eyes at me and say, "He works too hard." I believed her. I believed all of it. Because why would I not believe it? This was my son. This was his wife. These were my grandchildren. This was my house. I was not a suspicious person. I was a trusting person. That was my crime. That was the only crime I committed. The conversation about moving in happened on a Sunday night in October. The leaves were turning. I had made a pot roast. Mark and Lisa came over with the kids. Rachel was on speakerphone from Ohio. It felt like a real family dinner, the kind I used to have when Frank was still pretending to love me, and the kids were still young enough to need me for everything. We ate. We laughed. Emma spilled her milk. Leo threw a carrot on the floor. Normal, loud, chaotic, perfect. Then Lisa brought it up. She said they had been talking. She said the duplex was becoming affluent only. She said they were thinking about moving in with me temporarily, just until they saved enough for a down payment, just for 6 months, maybe a year. She said it would help me too, because I was not getting any younger, and someone should be in the house with me in case something happened. She said it with such concern in her voice, such sweetness. She reached across the table and put her hand on mine. She said, "Mom, we want to take care of you for a change." I looked at Mark. He nodded. He said it would be good for the kids to have more space. He said he could help me with the yard work and the repairs. He said he did not want me to be alone anymore. I looked at the phone in the center of the table where Rachel's name was lit up. She said nothing. She always says nothing. She has been saying nothing her whole life. I said yes. I said yes because I loved them. I said yes because I believed they loved me back.
I said yes because the house felt too big and too quiet, and I was tired of eating dinner alone in front of the television. I said yes because I am a mother, and mothers say yes to their children, even when their children are 43 years old with families of their own. I said yes because saying no would have felt like an act of violence against everything I thought my family was. They moved in 3 weeks later. The first 6 months were fine, better than fine. They were wonderful. Lisa cooked dinner most nights. Mark fixed the leaky faucet in the downstairs bathroom. The kids slept in what used to be Rachel's bedroom. I slept in my same bedroom at the end of the hall. We fell into a rhythm. Breakfast together, carpool to school with me driving because Lisa had to leave for work early. Afternoons with Emma and Leo while Mark and Lisa worked. Dinner, baths, bedtime. Then quiet. Then the next day. I felt useful again. I felt needed again. I felt like I had a purpose that was bigger than my own small, aging life. The cracks started around month 7. It was small things at first. A cabinet in the kitchen that got reorganized without me. A drawer in the living room that was emptied so Lisa could store her work files. The thermostat being set lower than I liked because Mark said it was too expensive to keep the house at 72. I let it go. I told myself I was being selfish. I told myself this was what family did. They shared space, they compromised, they adjusted. Then my mail started disappearing. Not all of it, just some of it. Bills that I remembered seeing on the kitchen table that were gone the next day. A letter from my insurance company that I never found. A notice from the county about property taxes that I would have needed to keep. I asked Lisa about it one morning while she was making coffee. She said she must have accidentally thrown it away. She said I was getting forgetful. She said it with a little laugh, a teasing laugh, a don't be silly mom laugh. I laughed too, but I was not forgetful. I was not losing my mind. I was losing my mail. Then the bank statements stopped coming. I had always received paper statements from my credit union, every month like clockwork. Then one month, nothing. I called the credit union. They said the address on file had been changed. They said the change was requested online. They said it was changed to a P.O. box. I said I did not have a P.O. box. The woman on the phone was quiet for a moment. Then she said she would note the account and send me a new statement to my physical address. I thanked her. I hung up. I sat in the dark kitchen for a long time with the phone in my hand. I did not ask Lisa about the bank statements. I did not ask Mark. I was afraid of the answer. I was afraid of what it would mean if I was right. So I did nothing. I buried the suspicion under the daily work of being a grandmother. I made pancakes, I wiped noses, I read bedtime stories. I acted like nothing was wrong, because nothing was wrong. Nothing could be wrong. This was my family. This was my son. This was my daughter-in-law who called me mom. This was my house. The house. That is where the real story lives. That is where the blood is. Around month 10, Lisa started talking about renovations. She said the kitchen was outdated. She said the bathroom needed new tile. She said the back porch was a safety hazard for the kids. I agreed with her about the porch. It was sagging. It needed work. I told her I did not have the money for big renovations. I told her my retirement savings were modest. I told her the house was paid off, but I could not afford to sink thousands of dollars into new tile and cabinets. Lisa said not to worry. She said she and Mark would pay for the renovations themselves. She said it would be their gift to me, their way of saying thank you for letting them stay. She said they would handle everything, the contractors, the permits, the payments. I just had to sign a few papers so the work could be done legally. She said it was just a formality. She said it was to prove I owned the house and approved the work. She put a document in front of me on the kitchen table. She put a pen next to it. She smiled. She said, "Sign here, Mom." I signed. I did not read it. I know. I know how stupid that sounds. I know you are sitting there judging me, that you have to understand. I had been living with these people for almost a year.
I had been sleeping under the same roof, eating at the same table, wiping the same faces. I trusted them the way you trust your own heartbeat. You do not read the fine print on your own heartbeat. You just assume it will keep going. The renovations started in April. Workers came every morning. The house smelled like sawdust and paint. The kids stayed with Lisa's mother for a week. I stayed in my bedroom with the door closed because the noise was too much. Mark and Lisa were gone most of the day. They said they were busy with work. They said they would check on the progress in the evenings. I believed them. I did not walk around my own house because I did not want to be in the way. I stayed in my room. I watched daytime television. I waited for the noise to stop. When the renovations were finished, I walked through the house for the first time in 2 weeks. The kitchen was beautiful. White quartz countertops, new cabinets, a farmhouse sink. The bathroom had new gray tile and a rainfall shower head. The back porch was gone. In its place was a sunroom with floor-to-ceiling windows and a heated floor. It looked like something from a magazine. It looked like it belonged to someone else. I thanked them. I hugged Mark. I hugged Lisa. I told them it was too much. I told them I did not deserve this. Lisa smiled. She said, "Of course you deserve it, Mom." She said, "This is your house." She said, "We wanted you to have something beautiful." I cried. I cried because I was grateful.
I cried because I was tired. I cried because for one perfect moment, I believed that love had won. 3 days later, the locks were changed. I came home from the grocery store. My keys did not work in the front door. I tried the back door, same thing. I knocked. Mark opened the door. He looked at me like I was a stranger. He said, "Mom, we need to talk." I walked inside. Lisa was sitting on the new couch in the new sunroom. She was holding a folder of papers. She did not stand up. She did not smile. She said the house was no longer mine. She slid the folder across the coffee table. I opened it. There was the document I had signed, the one I had not read. It was not a renovation agreement. It was a quitclaim deed. I had signed over my ownership of the house to a trust. The trust was in Mark and Lisa's names. The house belonged to them now. It had belonged to them since the day I signed my name on the kitchen table. I looked at Mark. He would not look at me. He stood by the window with his arms crossed. He looked at the floor. He looked at the ceiling. He looked everywhere but my face. I asked him if this was true. He did not answer. Lisa answered for him. She said, "We have been planning this for a long time." She said, "You are getting older." She said, "You cannot maintain a house this size on your own." She said, "We are protecting you from yourself." She said, "We are protecting the house for the children." She said, "This is what is best for everyone." I asked her if she thought I was going to die soon. She did not say anything. I asked Mark if he wanted his mother to die. He started crying. He actually started crying. That should have made me feel something. That should have made me feel like he still had a heart. But the crying did not feel like sadness. It felt like shame. It felt like he knew what he had done and he was crying because he got caught. Not because he was sorry. Because he got caught. I told them I would call a lawyer. Lisa said I could try, but it would not matter. She said the document was signed voluntarily. She said there was no evidence of coercion. She said it would be my word against theirs. She said I was a 72-year-old woman with no money for a legal fight. She said she hoped I would not make this difficult. She said she wanted the kids to still see me. She said that was up to me. I looked at my son. I said, "Mark, please, just please." He wiped his face with the back of his hand. He said, "Mom, we are not kicking you out. You can stay here. You can stay in your room. We just need you to understand that the house is ours now. We will take care of everything. You do not have to worry about anything anymore. You can just be Grandma." I stayed. I stayed because I had nowhere else to go. I stayed because I did not have the fight in me. I stayed because I thought if I just kept being quiet, and kept being good, and kept being useful, they would remember that I was their mother. That I had changed Mark's diapers. that I had sat up with him when he had fevers, that I had worked double shifts at the department store to pay for his baseball cleats, that I had loved him before he knew what love was. I stayed because I thought love would eventually win. It did not win. The months that followed were a slow suffocation. The sunroom became Lisa's office. I was not allowed to sit in there anymore. The kitchen was hers too. She would tell me when I could cook and when I could not. She would move my coffee maker to a different counter. She would put my cereal bowls on a shelf I could not reach. I stopped eating breakfast. I started eating lunch in my room. I started eating dinner after everyone else had finished, because Lisa said it was easier to clean up if only one person cooked. Mark stopped talking to me. Not completely. He would say hello in the mornings. He would ask if I needed anything from the store. But he would not look at me. He would not sit with me. He would not stay in the same room for more than a few minutes. He was avoiding me. His own mother. He was avoiding me because I was the evidence of what he had done. The kids still came to my room sometimes. Emma would crawl into my bed on Saturday mornings and ask me to tell her stories about when her daddy was little. I would tell her about the time Mark tried to ride the neighbor's dog. I would tell her about the time he ate an entire jar of peanut butter with a spoon. She would laugh.
I would laugh. Then Lisa would come to the door and say, "Emma, come help me with breakfast." And Emma would leave, and I would be alone again. I started calling Rachel every day. Not once a month. Every day. She answered sometimes. She did not answer other times. When she answered, I told her what was happening. She listened. She said, "That sounds hard." She said she was sorry. She did not offer to help. She did not offer to come get me. She did not offer to call Mark and yell at him. She said, "That sounds hard." And then she changed the subject to her job, or her garden, or the weather in Ohio. Rachel has always been good at distance. She learned it from Frank. Frank was excellent at distance. He could be in the same room as you and still be 1,000 miles away. Rachel inherited that. She is her father's daughter. I called a lawyer anyway, a man named David Klein who had been recommended by a woman at my church. He was young, maybe 35. He had a kind face and tired eyes. He listened to my story. He asked for the documents. I told him Lisa had all the documents. He said I would need copies. I said I did not know how to get them. He said I should try to find them when Lisa and Mark were not home. He said it was legal for me to look for my own paperwork in my own house. He said the house was not really mine anymore, but the paperwork was. He said, "Try." I tried on a Thursday afternoon. Mark was at work. Lisa had taken the kids to a dentist appointment. I went into the office.
The new office that used to be my spare bedroom. I opened drawers. I looked in filing cabinets. I found nothing. I went into the master bedroom, Mark and Misa's room. I do not know why I looked there. I just had a feeling. I opened the closet. On the top shelf, there was a locked safe. A small black safe. I did not have the combination. I sat on the floor of their closet, and I cried. I cried because the safe was locked and I could not open it. I cried because I was searching my own son's bedroom for proof that he had stolen from me. I cried because the woman I was at 60 would never have recognized the woman I had become at 73. I found the documents 3 days later, not in the safe, in Lisa's car. The car was unlocked. That was stupid of her. That was arrogant. She never expected me to look. She never expected me to fight. She thought I would just fold. She thought I would just disappear into that back bedroom and wait to die. The documents were in a folder on the passenger seat. I opened the car door. I took the folder. I walked back into the house. I closed my bedroom door. I sat on my bed. I read everything. There was the quitclaim deed. There was the trust agreement. There was a letter from Lisa's brother, who was a paralegal. The letter explained how to structure the transfer so it would be difficult to challenge in court. There was a handwritten note from Lisa to Mark at the bottom of one of the pages. I read it. I read it 3 times.
It said, "Once she is in a home, we can sell the house and use the money for the kids' college. She will never know. She will be dead in 5 years anyway." I put the folder down. I walked to the bathroom. I threw up. I stayed on the bathroom floor for a long time. The tile was cold against my cheek. I thought about Frank. I thought about how he had looked at me the day he said he was leaving. He had the same flatness in his eyes that Mark had now, the same ability to see me as an obstacle instead of a person. I thought about Rachel. I thought about how she had never once in her entire life asked me how I was doing and waited for the answer. I thought about all the years I had given, all the meals, all the laundry, all the sleepless nights, all the money I had lent and never asked to be paid back, all the love I had poured into people who were just waiting for me to die. I called David Klein the next morning. I told him I had the documents. I told him about the note. He said, "We have a case." He said it would not be easy. He said it would take time and money. He asked if I had any savings. I told him I had $43,000 in a retirement account that Lisa did not know about. I had hidden it years ago when Frank and I were still married. A secret account my mother had helped me open. My mother had been married to a man who took things too. She knew. She always knew. I filed a lawsuit. I sued Mark and Lisa for fraud and undue influence.
I sued to have the quitclaim deed voided. I sued to get my house back. Lisa was furious. She screamed at me in the kitchen. She said I was destroying the family. She said I was hurting the children. She said I was a bitter old woman who could not stand to see her son happy. Mark stood behind her with the same blank face. He did not defend me. He did not defend her. He just stood there like a man made of wood. Rachel called me. She said, "Are you sure you want to do this?" I said yes. She said, "It is going to get ugly." I said, "It is already ugly." She said, "Okay." Then she said, "I love you." She said it fast, like she was ripping off a bandage. I said, "I love you too." She hung up. She did not call again for 2 weeks. The legal battle lasted 8 months. 8 months of living in that house with people who hated me. 8 months of avoiding the kitchen. 8 months of locking my bedroom door at night. 8 months of hearing Lisa talk about me on the phone in the sunroom. 8 months of Mark not looking at me. 8 months of Emma and Leo being told not to go into Grandma's room because Grandma was not feeling well. David Klein was good. He was better than Lisa's brother, the paralegal. He deposed Mark first. Mark broke down on the stand. He admitted that Lisa had presented the document to me without explaining what it was. He admitted that he knew I had not read it. He admitted that Lisa had told him to stay quiet. He cried again. The crying did nothing to me this time.
The crying was just water. The damage was already done. Lisa did not break down. Lisa was cold and precise on the stand. She said I had signed the document willingly. She said I had been of sound mind. She said the renovations were a gift. She said she had only wanted to help me. She said the note about me being dead in 5 years was a joke. She said she was stressed. She said she did not mean it. She said she loved me. The judge was a woman, maybe 65. She had gray hair and reading glasses on a chain. She looked at Lisa for a long time without saying anything. Then she looked at Mark. Then she looked at me. She said she was voiding the quitclaim deed. She said the house was mine. She said Mark and Lisa had 72 hours to vacate the premises. She said they were not permitted to remove any fixtures or appliances. She said they could take their personal belongings and nothing else. She said the matter of legal fees would be decided separately. I won. I won the house. I lost my son. Mark and Lisa moved out 3 days later. They packed their things in garbage bags and plastic bins. They took the kids to Lisa's mother's house. Emma cried. She hugged my legs and said she did not want to leave Grandma. Leo did not understand. He was too young. Mark carried boxes to the car without speaking to me. Lisa did not look at me at all. She just kept her eyes forward like I was invisible, like I had already died. When they were gone, I walked through the house. The beautiful kitchen with the white quartz countertops, the bathroom with the gray tile, the sunroom with the heated floor, all of it still there. All of it paid for with my signature on a piece of paper I had not read. I sat down on the floor of the sunroom. I put my hands on the warm floor. I cried. I cried for a long time. I cried until there was nothing left. That was a year ago. I am 73 now, 74 next month. I live alone in the house. The sunroom is my favorite place. I sit there in the mornings with my coffee. I do not think about Lisa when I am in there. I try not to. Sometimes I cannot help it. Sometimes I see her sitting on the couch with that folder in her hands. Sometimes I hear her voice saying, "You will be dead in 5 years anyway." Sometimes I have to get up and walk outside just to breathe. Mark does not call. He does not visit. He has not brought the kids to see me in 11 months. Emma calls sometimes on her mother's phone. Lisa lets her talk for 5 minutes, then she takes the phone back. I send birthday cards. I send Christmas presents. I do not know if they get them. I do not know if they are thrown away. Rachel came to visit last spring. She stayed for 3 days. She helped me clean out the garage. She painted the back fence. She did not talk about Mark. She did not talk about the lawsuit. She just helped. It was not love exactly. It was something smaller, something like obligation. But I took it.
I took it because I am old and I am alone and I do not have the luxury of refusing small things anymore. I think about my mother sometimes. I think about her sitting in this same house. I think about her telling me to open my own bank account. I think about her telling me that men take things, even the good ones, even the ones who love you, especially the ones who love you. I think about how she knew. I think about how she tried to warn me. I think about how I did not listen. I still go to church. I still go to book club. I still fold my laundry on Tuesday mornings. I still make a pot of soup on Thursdays. I leave a container on the front porch for Mark. He never takes it. The container sits there until I bring it back inside. I throw the soup away. I wash the container. I put it in the cupboard. I do it again the next week. The house is quiet now. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that has weight. The kind of quiet that sits on your chest when you are trying to sleep. I leave the television on at night. Old movies. Black and white. The voices fill the rooms. They make the house feel less like a tomb. I am not angry anymore. That is what surprises me most. I was angry. I was so angry I could taste it. It was metallic and bitter, and it never went away. But now the anger is gone. It has been replaced by something else, something heavier, something like sadness, but colder, something like acceptance, but sharper. I do not have a word for it. Maybe there is no word for it. Maybe some feelings just are. They do not need names. They just need to be carried. I still have the note, the one Lisa wrote. Once she is in a home, we can sell the house. She will never know. She will be dead in 5 years anyway. I have it in a drawer next to my bed. I take it out sometimes. I read it. I put it back. I do not know why I keep it. Maybe to remind myself. Maybe to make sure I never forget what people are capable of. Maybe just because it is the only proof I have that I was not crazy, that it really happened, that they really wanted me gone. Emma will be 7 next month. She is growing up without me. She is learning to read. She is losing her baby teeth. She is becoming a person. I will not be there to see it. Lisa will make sure of that. Mark will let her, because Mark has always let her, because Mark has always been soft, because Mark has always chosen the path of least resistance, even when that path ran right through his mother's heart. I think about the day they moved in, the day I said yes, the day I thought I was gaining something. I was not gaining anything. I was losing. I was losing from the moment they walked through the door. I just did not know it yet. That is the thing about betrayal. It does not show up wearing a mask. It shows up wearing your son's face. It shows up carrying your grandchildren. It shows up calling you mom. I will die in this house. That is something. That is not nothing. I will die in the same room where my mother died. I will die looking at the same crabapple tree she looked at. I will die alone. But I will die in my own bed, in my own house, with my own name on the deed. That is the only victory I have. It is a small one, but it is mine. The phone does not ring anymore. Not really. I get calls from the doctor's office. I get calls from the pharmacy. I get calls from Rachel on Sunday afternoons. That is it. That is the whole world now. A few voices, a few routines, a few threads holding me together. Sometimes in the sunroom, I close my eyes and pretend I can hear the kids playing in the backyard. I pretend I can hear Emma laughing. I pretend I can hear Leo yelling for me to come push him on the swing. I pretend that none of it happened, that they are still here, that they still love me, that I am still a mother,
and a grandmother, and a person who matters. Then I open my eyes, and the sunroom is empty, and the house is silent, and I am 73 years old, and I am still alive. And somehow that is the saddest part of all.